Good morning, everyone. My name is Hilary Woodhead. I am the CEO here at Napa, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this broadcast. We are broadcasting across all our social media channels, all at the same time, thanks to our amazing backstage crew and the magic of technology. It's day 3 of the National Activity Providers and Professionals Week 2025. We're having such a wonderful week celebrating the incredible work of activity providers across the UK, and we hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. First off, a huge thank you to our NAP Week headline sponsors, Majestica Luxury Care Homes. Their support helps us to make this event possible. We couldn't do it without them. And let's not forget the amazing kickoff that we had on Monday. If you've missed the launch or yesterday's session, the launch of the Napa Year of Musical Expression, then you can watch again on our website or on our social media channels. All of the free resources from the launch are still available for you to download. You can have a look at them. You can download them. Please let us know what you think of them. We are developing more resources throughout the year of musical expression. So if there are gaps, please get in touch. We'd love to work with you on those resources. So enormous thanks also to our year of sponsors, Symphony Hearing. Very, very exciting to be working with them this year to really help us think about how we make music as an inclusive an experience for people as possible. So today's highlight is singing for well-being. And I have to confess that singing is my favourite thing to do. I'm not very good at it, but I do love it. And in this session, we'll be looking at the positive effects of singing on emotional well-being and social bonding. I am joined, therefore, by the amazing Liv McCelland. Welcome, Liv. There you are.
Hello.
Stage. Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Very happy to be here, Hilary.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. So I'm just going to say a little bit about you. So this is a bit where I get to embarrass you. Okay, is that all right?
Carry on.
Liv is pretty. She's pretty special. She's pretty amazing, and juggles lots of different things. Wears lots of different hats, but is the co-director of Sounds Better CIC. She has been dedicated to a career in music for many, many, many years, building connections with her local community, but also working on lots of national projects and programs of work as well. She has extensive experience working with individuals of all ages, including those living with dementia and long-term health conditions. She is talented, a multi-instrumentalist. She plays the cello, the bagpipes, the ukulele, and she incorporates singing into her workshops to create a truly transformative experience. Now, there's quite a lot there, but is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself or about your work?
Oh, thanks, Hilary. I feel a bit embarrassed, but I mean, alongside that, I'm also studying part-time for a doctorate, and I'm researching intergenerational music making in care homes. And at some point I will finish that. I might be drawing my pension by that stage, but it's a journey, put it that way. It's a long journey. But yes, and I do have my own performance practice. I mean, it's probably on the back burner for now, but I do, particularly love playing pipes for people. And we're just in the middle of the Burns Night season in January.
Course,
so
yes.
it's been busy. It's great.
Brilliant, thank you. And a PhD, I mean, that's quite an endeavour. So good luck with that. Next time we see you, you might be Dr. Liv then.
Leave it a few years, maybe.
There's no rush with these things, no. Okay, so obviously we're gonna be talking about the power of singing, something that I know is important to both of us. And we hope that over this next 12 months, we'll see lots of creativity around singing and how to incorporate singing into activity and engagement programs in all of the settings that we support. So I thought we'd start with just thinking about some of the kind of cognitive and emotional benefits of singing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, singing can be such a great vehicle. It's one of those things that is I suppose comes naturally. I say comes naturally to humans anyway. It's a human behavior. And for some people it lasts a lifetime, and for other people there's, you know, other things that stop them from singing. However, that doesn't mean it's too late to start singing. But, you know, throughout my work, I've seen such an impact that taking part in singing can have on older people, and particularly people living with dementia. Things like word finding and communication, when you think that's something that people might start to struggle with in later life, midlife as well. I'm struggling with words sometimes. My goodness. You know, in the moment, it can really help those kinds of challenges that we might experience. You know, I'm just thinking of something that I was working on many, many years ago now, and I was doing a creative reminiscence project with someone. In the final session, we had kind of more of a party vibe, I suppose, and I brought an instrument in, we were playing, and this gentleman hadn't, you know, he didn't really speak that much during the project. But by that stage, with the music, he was dancing, he was singing along to the words, and he started initiating conversation as a result of that, a direct result. It was literally, he was dancing, he was singing, and he came up and started talking. It was, you know, it's really powerful. But also not just about communication, it's, you know, also about short-term memory as well. That can be really helped, again, in the moment. When I'm, you know, in a group and we're learning new songs, so people that they might not know them, they can actually recall them in the moment, and sometimes from week to week, session to session as well, which always surprises me. We have a particular welcome song in a group I run in rural Wiltshire, and it's not a song that anyone has heard before, but we sing it and they pick it up very quickly. And there 2 weeks later, it's a session every fortnight, and people remember it, and we sing it all together again with very little prompting. And again, I say, it always amazes me that, you know, I have trouble remembering things, you know, in a couple of weeks' time, but actually it's the power of music to be able to, you know, to help that. But, you know, but singing is also great in terms of well-being impacts and giving people a kind of sense of self, a sense of identity, on kind of two different levels. I was thinking just about, you know, if you're choosing repertoire that's really relevant for that group or for that individual, then that can help, you know, create their sense of personhood and maintain that into later life and throughout, say, dementia. But it might also be something related to achieving, you know, perhaps if you're improvising or you're songwriting, or they are actually singing in a group, that might not be something that they've done before. You know, that can really help support their sense of self, their well-being, their sense of achievement. Or it's still really important at whatever life stage you're at to be able to aim for something and achieve something. You know, and singing is a really social activity. It's great for social engagement, and if people come along, you know, it can help to reduce those feelings of isolation, of, you know, loneliness as well. We know they have a direct correlation with anxiety and depression too, and just, you know, and low mood. So by coming along, by singing, just the act of doing something in a group can really help people with those feelings as well. And I see it firsthand in running my groups, whether that's long-term projects or one-off sessions. You know, you can really sense the change in mood in both in the moment in that session and over a longer period of time as well. And people change as a result of coming along and singing with other people. And there is some research around kind of the hormone effect and the physiological effect of singing as well. I don't know massive amounts about that side, the biological, but, you know, I'm sure you've read the research as well, that things happen in our bodies as when we sing together, when we dance together, when we, you know, commune in that way creatively. So, you know, it's really exciting. There's loads of benefits in singing and music.
And more research, I think, is emerging all the time, isn't it, about music generally, but specifically about singing, which is so lovely to see that this fun activity actually really does have therapeutic benefits. It really does make a difference to how people live their lives. You know, it can be so significant and powerful, and that is so special, isn't it? It's so special. So I think sometimes for activity providers, they're like, oh, it's just a singing activity, but actually there's no such thing as just, it's what is the purpose behind it, but also what's the impact, what change does it make in someone's identity, sense of identity, as you say, their well-being. And I really liked what you said about that, because I think sometimes as well, the people that the staff that we support are supporting, sometimes they might find that people find it quite difficult to articulate verbally how they're feeling, but yet through a song they're able to do that, whether that's to brighten their mood, but also to maybe resolve some of the feelings that they're experiencing through music and through song. Very, very powerful. So I think you captured all of that beautifully. Thank you. Another question that we get asked a lot really is about how the activity itself, so kind of designing sessions for people that might have differing kind of levels of ability and need. I mean, this is a question we get asked about every activity, but any kind of top tips, anything in particular that you found that's worked around that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And for me, it's having lots of different entry points for people into the session. So both kind of the session as a whole and each individual activity or song or whatever you're doing throughout it. And that can develop over time as well. So you don't have to get everything in at the first session. It's you're playing the long game here. I would start off and make a kind of offering, and you're just spending the first few times testing ideas, seeing what works for that particular group. And every group is going to be different. And people ask me a question like, oh, how many people in the group? What should we do? What songs? And I'm always like, it depends really. But things that you might like to consider are having a range of different musics, different styles, different genres. And that can include things that you can sing, things that you can listen to, things that you can move to. Maybe having songs that people might not know that are just very simple, maybe 2 or 3 words, or really rousing choruses that people may know, and just seeing where that lands, or choruses that they don't know. Can they retain it? Is this possible for this group? I also tend to include things like movement, so doing some seated dance, maybe creating some movement. I also use improvisation and songwriting, which might sound a little scary if you're not necessarily used to doing that kind of thing either, but I'm really happy to talk about that and different approaches to that. So it's just finding ways in and really eventually knowing your group and just giving options and choices. And for some people that might be singing whilst other people are playing instruments and doing that at the same time. That's absolutely fine. For other people, they might just want to sit and watch other people participating in singing. That's fine. It might be doing a few simple rhythm activities, some call and response. It might just be having a sing along, and that's absolutely fine as well. I personally tend not to choose songs that have lots of words or lots of verses, mainly for my benefit, but actually I find it's easier just to keep people together and singing if it's quite simple songs and quite repetitive ones. Rock and roll's great for that. It's uplifting, but also there's generally only about 3 chords, and it's quite repetitive in its nature. It's just wonderful for all sorts of activities. It's just kind of seeing what can happen really. And if someone just wants to tap the beat on their chair, that's great. You can really maximize that. Perhaps you might like to offer them a drum to amplify that beat, and then we can all sing along to it. So it's just finding that out, seeing what unites the group, or seeing where you can pitch one activity to lots of different levels. It's, again, you can have the beat keeping, you can have people singing. If you've got a particularly accomplished singer, they can add some harmony to it. So it's also keeping it simple, starting from a baseline. There's beauty in simplicity, I find, particularly with music. I've learned the hard way.
We can overcomplicate things, can't we? I think what's really interesting what you said about choosing songs that don't have too many words or too many verses. How do you feel about giving out printed lyrics? Do you think that's helpful?
I think it depends. it depends on the group. I do in some of my sessions, in others I don't. It just, it depends on the groups I'm working with and why I'm doing that. If it's a song that everyone wants to sing and it does happen to have a few verses, or it's, it's going to have a big impact. I'm just thinking around, different themes we've done, like remembrance, and doing things like Jerusalem. That always seems to go down really well, but I can't remember all the words, so I need the words. And that's
the second verse 3 times. Yes.
exactly that.
Yeah, it'll do. Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah, and also if people can't read the words for whatever reason, I always say la is fine, or hum along. There's, for me, it's if people can participate however feels right to them and at whatever level. We might even include a verse where we all just hum together, for example. It's, or we just choose, we all know the first verse of something, but we're not so hot on the other verses, so we might repeat the first verse a few times, hum, and then repeat it again, and that's absolutely fine. It's having that flexibility, and you don't have to do the whole thing, you can just pick bits of it as well. But yeah, if you want to use words and that works your group, I say go ahead, just make sure it's big enough and everyone can read it, that is going to do that, all those kind of things. But or have the lyrics displayed on a whiteboard if you have that, or television if you can, or both. Often I have both as well, depending on the group and the venue. So yeah, just I think it's choice is the,
it is. And that I love that, go with the flow, be flexible, don't overcomplicate it. They're all really, really good messages, I think. And when it comes to working with a group, so obviously group dynamics, any thoughts on how to kind of enhance participation with groups? Anything that you've tried that worked well or didn't?
There's probably a plethora of things that haven't over time. Far too many to name it. But for me, I work with individuals within a group. So for me, if a group, I can't work with individuals, this probably sounds a bit complicated, but if I don't know what's happening for that individual within the context of a group, then that group has become too big for me. So for me, it's about supporting those individuals. So it could be if you've got volunteers or other staff members that can sit and support and enable them to participate in a way that's right for them, then do that. Don't just leave the poor singing leader or the activity provider to do that themselves. It is, how do we support these people to get the best out of the session? And for me, the paper issue, having lyrics, is not having loads of songs that require paper or props or anything like that, because that can get a bit confusing. But again, it all depends on the group. That's just my experience, and everyone else has different approaches that work really well. Again, it's always having different options available throughout that session that you're doing. So again, we talked about entry points earlier. It's how can we go to the entry point that works for you as an individual? What will that be? Is that a particular song that you just love? You might have to do it every time, but that's okay. There's no, it's joyous, I think, repeating music. And that's the thing, isn't it? We all have our favorites that we put on, that we listen to, that we dance to. I think that's a really important thing, is it kind of helps to compound that well-being effect. And again, about that whole layering up that I talked about as well, to help people participate. So it could be perhaps they want to dance while we sing, perhaps they want to just keep the beat, perhaps they want to improvise over the top. It's being open to those possibilities, really, including listening. I see listening as participation as well. So not everyone wants to necessarily vocalize that particular day, and that's okay. It's just being open and aware of that. And I think we always try and get to chivvy people up and get them joining in, but actually they might not be feeling it that day. So it's just reading the
room
and
the mood, haven't you? You've got to match the mood. And I think that sometimes for activity staff particularly, they feel like it's always got to be about having fun, but actually singing, we use singing in all situations in life, don't we? We use singing to grieve, to remember, to, it's not just about partying. And I think that's quite an important message, that it does, you don't have to, you can use singing in lots and lots of different ways to support somebody to express themselves. And it's about that safe environment, isn't it? Creating a supportive space where people can participate in a way that feels safe for them, but also matches their level of kind of ability as well. So I think sometimes, again, with groups, when you said, if I don't know everybody and what everybody needs, the group's got too big. And I think that's a really important message for activity providers. I think sometimes they think they have to have a room full of people. It's a singing activity, I've got to get everybody in the living room and there's just little old me. Or sometimes what we also hear is that, external providers come in, musicians come in, or entertainers, and everyone disappears. And suddenly they're left on their own with a room full of people. So this is about participation from staff as well, isn't it? And having enough people to be able to facilitate the group as positively as possible. And that's really important, I think.
Yeah. Exactly. And it helps to build the relationships both between the people living or attending a day centre or whatever, and the staff as well, and between the staff and the residents. So it's a great social activity, and you can learn lots about people through that activity as well. And let's kind of be honest, the singing activity can enhance staff well-being as well as residents and the members of the group. So it's thinking about that side of things as well. And how do we encourage a whole home approach or a whole organization approach with singing?
Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask you as well about how you measure the success of singing activities, but I think you've probably answered this already. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think that, for me, has it been inclusive? Have people participated to the level that they have wanted to? And have they been able to express themselves in whatever way feels right for them? So that's kind of my basic criteria, really. And you can kind of tweak it or get very in depth depending on who's funding you and what your project is. But essentially that's what it is, and then everything I've said previously.
Yeah, I agree. I think you've answered that with bells and whistles on. So my final question, then we'll see if we've got any questions from the audience, really, was about how we integrate music and singing into life. So I think sometimes we think about a music activity, a singing activity is something that happens at 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock. How can we make this just part of the way people enjoy their lives? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it can be part of everyday life. There's research around music therapeutic caregiving where people sing, the caregiver sings to someone whilst they're doing the caregiving activities, and that can be in a formal caregiving role or an informal one, and that can help reduce agitation. I would just burst into song normally. It really annoys my daughter now. She's getting to age where everything I do is embarrassing.
I have that too. Really? We're singing again? We're in the street now and we're singing again? Yes,
exactly. So, but I think that's okay, and I would do that in my work and just sing along. And also kind of just viewing music as a human and singing as a human behavior. We see kind of communicative musicality from birth when we're thinking of how babies and their caregivers kind of respond to each other when they're pre-verbal, and thinking about it when people are maybe post-verbal as well. We have adaptive interaction where you kind of mirror the vocalizations and body movement, and to me that's music. When you look at Naomi File and Gladys Wilson, watch that video. I watch it very regularly, and that's music that's happening between them. So it's thinking about behavior as communication, but actually as musical communication. And I think when you kind of reframe everything like that, it isn't just about singing a song, it's about using it as a way of being and a way of communicating. And just finding these ways to kind of be musical, and it doesn't have to be long. It could be 3 seconds, it could be a half hour sing along. But all of that is, really valid and beneficial.
Brilliant. Thank you. I mean, I think I need a badge, something like singing what's not to like. I just think, why, it's just, it should be part and parcel of care, really, shouldn't it? And I think when we hear that there's been a breakthrough moment with somebody because we've used music, because we've used singing, that just demonstrates, doesn't it, that it can really support somebody's mood and support their well-being. I love the idea of caregivers singing to people while they're getting them, providing personal care. I hadn't heard that before, so that's I've definitely learned something. I think we're close to time, but we might have maybe one question from the audience if there is one. Jenna's backstage. So this one is from Corey. What role does cultural diversity play in selecting songs for group activities? That's a really good question. Any thoughts on that one?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, it plays a massive role. And cultural diversity for me is an all-encompassing term, which goes from kind of cultural and social class background and what might have been part of someone's life growing up. It's also kind of ethnic diversity as well. So, everything, I hope that came through, that everything I do when I work with groups is around who is in front of me. So, for example, if I was working with a group that was, maybe a lot from the Caribbean, I would go to them and I would, find out the songs and the music that they like, and we would work with that, as well as bringing some of my own stuff, a kind of cultural exchange. So I think it's really important to go in and respect that. I've done some work with Jewish organizations, Jewish Care. I'm not Jewish, but I had to literally change my whole typical repertoire because I'm like, actually, it's very kind of Western Christian kind of things. I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. This will be totally inappropriate. So did some research, went to talk to people, obviously in the home and the places that I've worked, and tried to adapt as much as I could through that. I mean, obviously it's kind of tricky because it's not my background, but I did the best I could. And so I think we just have to be aware and to be sensitive and to really work hard at that as well, because it's important. And for every reason that we've said around that sense of self, sense of identity, and really supporting that in later life, and particularly in dementia.
That was a really great question, Corey. Thank you, and a brilliant answer, Liv. So I think we're probably out of time. Is there anything else you just want to add before you plunge backstage again? Anything you want to add to what you've said?
Well, just hopefully, I mean, we've all had to start somewhere. So literally just start somewhere with, if you're not feeling confident, that could be picking 2 songs that you do with a group and just give it a go. And sometimes that triggers other memories from the group and then they take over. But just, keep it simple, try it out. And then with those 2 songs, the next time you can add another one and another one and another one, and suddenly you're at 30-minute sessions and beyond, and then you'll be songwriting and improvising. But I think if you're feeling nervous, just give it a go with a small group that's going to be nice to you. and just build your confidence. But I think it's going to be, you'll be amazing. And I think just go with the flow, see what happens. Don't have a predetermined idea of what it might sound like or what might happen. Just see what happens.
Thank you, Liv. Thank you so much. For more information about Liv's work, you can head over to her website. The link is there. You can get in touch with her directly, find out more about what's available. There's lots of wonderful projects that they're involved in. And there might be, those projects might be in a place near you. So please do make contact with Liv. Thank you so much, Liv, for your time today. I've really enjoyed talking to you about a subject that I love. I might just have to go off now and put my musicals on and have a little bit of a sing along. Thank you very, very much. Take good care, but bye for now. Bye-bye.
Thanks.